Hey folks, welcome to Market Technical Analysis by InTheMoneyStocks.com for September 6th, 2007. Well, it's quite an interesting day today, guys. We had a flurry of volume in the morning, followed by very light trading in the afternoon, which is based off the anticipation of the jobs report tomorrow. Everyone as a trader is just getting ready for that report, and that will really tell us the tale. We're going to have a volatile morning tomorrow when 8:30 rolls around, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, when that report is released, and we can see a lot of volume. We'll see a lot of volume come in this market tomorrow. Now, before we get into the technicals, I'm going to put up the NASDAQ intraday chart, but I just want to do a couple announcements here. One is the intraday stock chat is rolling along phenomenally. We have a great group of traders in there, both men and women, and it's just a phenomenal trading room. And I just want to say how proud I've been of the way in which some of these traders have caught on. You're talking about leaps and bounds in trading expertise, just over and over, gaining all the technical analysis I throw out during this chat, and they're just all putting it together into understanding the different ways in understanding whether or not it's a trade to take, whether it's a trade to leave alone, whether it's going to be a profitable trade, when to enter that trade. All these different technicals that we talk about, they're just grasping it left and right, and it's just amazing, and it's really awesome. So I just want to give them all a shout out in this chat. And I welcome anyone new who wants to join. Come join us. It's a phenomenal chat room. We do technical analysis like crazy. You know, you guys can ask any questions you want. We'll talk about resistance, support levels, different technical analysis tools, and understanding the market psychology. In addition, it's just a great way to get to learn the markets. You're going to hear plays called out by traders in that room, as well as by us in TheMoneyStocks.com, and overall just a great chat room. In addition, the swing trade alerts. We've had some phenomenal setups here, and we've had some great entries on our swing trade alerts lately, and we're in the money on both plays that we're in right now, and that's all I can really say, obviously, without giving away which plays they are. But we look to get into some trades over the next couple days now, setting up for what we believe will be the market moves in the next week or so. So come join the swing trade alerts at InTheMoneyStocks.com as well. All right, let's get right into this market. We saw a pretty choppy day, and you guys can see that here. You can see the move down here, the move up here. Look at the size of these moves. Down, up, down, and then kind of up into the close. And we basically stayed in this nice range. And what I'm going to show you here is we get out the trend tools, and we're just going to show you here what we had. Essentially what you have here is what's called a flag pattern. And this is and you guys can obviously see how this is a flag pattern here because it makes basically a flag. But what you had is this big volatility here getting smaller and smaller into the close, and that's essentially what we had today. This is the NASDAQ intraday chart. And again, as I said, we had a large amount of volatility basically up to about 12 o'clock. And you guys can see how right up to about here, big moves in the market up and down. We did basically 1 million contracts on the ES Futures E-mini chart, the September contract, up till about 12 o'clock. After 12 o'clock, we only did about 500,000 contracts. So really, the first 2.5 hours of the trading day, we did 1 million contracts. That's including pre-market, which just even before the market opened, we did 200,000. Then once 12 o'clock rolled around, all of a sudden, all eyes, and this is big, all eyes turned to that jobs report tomorrow at 8:30 a.m., guys. Okay, this is going to be a big number. Everyone's waiting on it. Every trader out there is waiting on it, and it's going to cause a lot of volatility. So be ready, okay? Now, we're not necessarily saying the market's going to jump up 500 points or down 500, but this is what we're really waiting to see because all this is based on what the Fed does in the rate scenario. Are they going to cut rates? Are they going to leave rates alone? Is it going to be a 25 basis point cut? Is it going to be a 50 basis point cut? And all that is basically going to be told, or at least people are going to take a cue from tomorrow's jobs number, figuring out what the Fed will do. All right, let's look at the daily chart here on the NASDAQ. Now, we talked to you yesterday about how this was a head and shoulders pattern here, but it's a very weak head and shoulders. And we talked about how you have this nice size shoulder over here, but just a mini shoulder over here, and how, while it is a head and shoulders pattern, it's not really a great one. In addition, what we see over here is the 50 moving average, and the NASDAQ again dipped to touch that 50 moving average today and bounced off of that. And the NASDAQ's been the strongest average lately, and we've told you about that every day. When the Dow is down, the NASDAQ's usually positive, you know, for the most part here. When the Dow's only down a little bit, the NASDAQ is positive. The NASDAQ is leading us. Technology is leading us here, okay? So when we do look to go short, obviously we're going to look to short the Dow stuff, Dow, S&P stuff, all that kind of stuff. However, we're not doing it quite yet, all right? We never obviously short ahead of this jobs number. That's just ludicrous because for all we know, we're going to gap up huge tomorrow or drop huge. You know, it's all a matter of figuring out what we do. However, based on that possibility of a fall next week, we will look to enter in the coming days, if we would, if you could say that there. So again, I encourage everyone to join the swing trade alerts based off that, or the intraday stock chat, to find out all those little keys of this market. So again, what we're doing here is we're keeping a nice little plane right here. Keep in mind, guys, and I say this in the chat room multiple times, the more we bang on a moving average on the downside, the more likely one day we are going to break that. And when we do close below that, then at that point you can look for a move down to this 20 moving average here. So again, a close below the 50, you can begin to look for a move down to the 20 moving average. Now what I want to do is bring up the intraday ES chart, and there it is right here. And again, you saw this choppy trading. And what I want to point out here is, look, come basically 12:30. Here's 12:30-ish. Look at the volume here. We had a couple spikes in the, especially right at the end of the day here, volume, which was okay, but really look at the size of the volume candles over here. This is really where the majority of our volume was today, as I just explained, doing a total of 1.5 million, which overall was a light day, but really all that volume, the 2/3 of that volume was in the first half of the day. Second half just had a third of that volume, as we await the jobs number. And really, if you want to see a flag pattern, I drew that flag in before, but really, see this baseline? We started right here in the markets. Where did we end? In the markets, basically flat. We had a big push down, we had a big push up, we had a big push down. We kind of came right here to close this market. And you guys can see that pattern. It's very, there's not a lot to talk about in this intraday chart. You can see we bounced off moving averages. We kept around the 20 moving average all day. And you guys know how we feel about the 20 moving average. It works as a magnet. If you get too far away from that moving average, like up here or down here, you have to come back to that moving average and touch it. Pierce it, touch it, whatever you will. You always hover around that 20 moving average. Okay? So that's what we got here on the that, and we're going to just look here at the daily chart of the ES, and this is today right here, this little dot here. That bar again forms as of tomorrow. We'll see that bar. But you can see again the charting. Here we have that fall. You guys still see we're in a downtrend, but we are off nicely off the lows here. Okay? And we can draw that little up here, and you see, basically, you can see how the ES is a lot weaker. And let me erase that little line here so we can show you that. But really, while the Nasdaq's hovering above the 50 moving average, which is up here on this chart, the ES, the S&P mini contract, the futures contract, hasn't been able to get above that 50. If it were to get above and close above, then we could possibly think about maybe a little bit of a move up to possibly a double top area right over here. All right. However, until that closes above, you still got to maintain that negative bias here and look to possibly move down to the 20 moving average here. And again, once we come down here, it's very likely we break and we will go down and retest those lows, which will be all the way down here. There again, you see this like pseudo head and shoulders pattern, but until we really form a better shoulder pattern, I really don't like that as much. Okay? And we'll know more. The other thing I want to point out, and I pointed this out, is the stochastics right here. Notice how toppy they are. All right, this is where the stochastics were up here, and we're basically back up there. Now stochastics can stay overbought for quite some time. They can really stay on the top, but usually you need a little pullback, and we've seen a beginning of that based on yesterday's move down slightly from the high up here. And we'll see what we get in continuation, but they could move back up to the highs again before we roll over here, all right? But at some point, the stochastics will need to come back down here, and that could coincide with that fall next week that we have been looking at. We're going to constantly reevaluate that, guys, because it's a little kind of like, it's harder to see right now, but it is looking like we are seeing a lot of things negative. And as we get towards the end of this video, which we're getting there now, I want to just talk a little bit about some of these negatives here. Not only are we seeing the moves up in this market on light volume and the moves down on slightly better volume, but we're also seeing these financials still very weak. Bear Stearns. Alright, look at Bear Stearns. It's still hanging right near its lows. Alright, while the market's up here near the 50 moving average, Bear Stearns is still below the 20. And these are leading indicators, guys. We've been talking about how the financials are leading indicators. So keep that in mind. Alright, you can basically look at any financial stock out there, whether it's MasterCard or Bear Stearns or Lehman. Lehman, again, was negative today, and we'll show you that chart. Alright, here's the flat line on Lehman. This is where we closed. We had a nice little rally going into the close, probably based on anticipation of decent job numbers tomorrow. But again, we have to be very cautious here. These leading indicators are telling us that we should be due for another move down, unless, the only possible scenario here is that the near-term move up comes based on a Fed rate cut before September 18th when the Fed meets. So we will constantly keep you guys updated on that. Alright, guys. Other than that, that's pretty much it today. Watch for the jobs number tomorrow. That's going to be a big mover intraday. We could see a spike up or a spike down on that number. We will decide what we want to do, but the swing trade alerts are rocking. The intraday stock chat, what a great group of people in that room. Just a phenomenal group. It's an asset to everyone out there, whether you're a pro or a newbie. It doesn't matter. It's a great product, and we hope you all come join us on one of those or both of those. In addition, I just want to point out that there is a combination package out there for the swing trade alerts and the intraday stock chat, and you save overall $50 on the month. Great savings on that product. Have a wonderful day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll have lots to talk about on this jobs number tomorrow, most likely. Have a wonderful night, and I hope everyone does well here. Take care.